This is I Go Travel with Don Barnett. We're going to head to the Four Corners today in this travelogue. Now, where is the Four Corners? What is the Four Corners? Well, it's a tourist area, and it has some archaeological sites in it and some Native American areas that we're going to see. So let's go take a look. We're headed into the American Southwest, which generally means between two life-supporting rivers. The zigzag line on the left, which is the Colorado River, and the similar line on the right, which is the Rio Grande River. It usually refers to places as far north as Utah and south to the Mexican border. Its characteristics are the hot sun, dry climate, and unique natural rock sculptures eroded by wind and sand. Ancient people tended to stay in the higher, cooler country of New Mexico. Lower elevation lands of southern Arizona were just too inhospitable with its heat, wind, and sand. Then came the European Spanish, who also made their early headquarters in Santa Fe, New Mexico. They too found travel by foot and horse across the lower elevation lands of Arizona more inhospitable. But that changed with highways, fast cars, airplanes, and air conditioning. Snowbirds and other newcomers can live in the hot lands in comfort these days. One region of the great American Southwest is called the Four Corners. See the black plus mark on the map. It's called the Four Corners because it's the only place in the U.S. where four state boundaries meet at the same point. The four states are in each quadrant of the black plus mark. On the top left corner, you can see the plus mark there where the four corners meet. That's where the states of Utah, Colorado, New Mexico, and Arizona meet. And we have done travelogues over on the right-hand side at Taos, Santa Fe, and Albuquerque. And on this travelogue, we're going to go just southwest of Albuquerque to a place called Acoma, and then we'll go straight north, secondly, up to Chaco, and then from Chaco we'll go to the left or straight west over to Canyon de Chelly. Just for clarity, I might mention that Four Corners does not refer to a specific place, but it rather refers to a general tourist area in this region here. One more map for a little background. The three circled areas show where archaeologists have identified three major historic ancestral people of this area. The three groups are the ancestral Pueblo, Mogollon, and Hohokam people who once inhabited this land. Okay, let's look at people in this area in more recent times. Near Albuquerque, New Mexico, is the Pueblo of Acoma, called Sky City. We met our guide, a Pueblo woman, at the classy and modern tourist center. It's called the Sky City because it's on top of a high flat mesa. It was isolated and safe, and even in the early days you could see whoever might be approaching. I wanted to do the macho thing and hike up the walking trail, but my wife insisted we ride up by car. But this high, safe haven was not enough to prevent the Spanish conquistadors from subjecting the Pueblo people from their often times harsh rule. One Spanish commander, he cut people's fingers, hands, and ankles off. This Spanish commander eventually was removed but by the Spanish government, but the horror and inhumane damage was done. A statue was erected in his honor in later years because he was a Spanish leader. But in more recent times, the Pueblo people have demanded that the statue be removed. Historically, people entered buildings on the upper level. Hence, you see ladders everywhere. This is the huge and beautiful church at Acoma. People are generally devout Catholics here, but as in some other places elsewhere, there exists some elements of traditional beliefs as well. The graveyard has about 20 meters of graves stacked in it. Over the centuries, the graveyard was filled. Space on the small mesa was paramount, so therefore more dirt was brought in so grave sites could be stacked one upon the other. Many Pueblo people died locally and were buried here, but others died in distant places over the years. The gargoyles on top of the wall represent guards that ensure the safety and permanence of souls of the deceased in the cemetery. The hole in the wall enables souls of the deceased to return home to the cemetery, regardless where in far-off lands they might have died. Now, if you remember, I lost the argument to walk up to the top of the mesa, but I talked my wife in doing the hike down. I told her it would be a piece of cake. Wrong. It nearly killed the both of us. It was some kind of steep and dangerous descent. Next stop, Chaco Ruins, south of Farmington, New Mexico, out in the middle of nowhere. Park guides led tours of this archaeological site. It might seem like it's in the middle of nowhere today, but in its heyday, Chaco was the largest and most important center in the area. Because Chaco is located on a very large area of flat land, it had the room to expand into city size. The ancient people who inhabited this city were sophisticated and knowledgeable. They understood the stars and the heavens and other ancient city locations. Some of them were located in exact a north-south direction from one another. Foundations of meeting rooms, residences, amphitheaters have given rise to all kinds of theories and speculation. Was this place a cultural center? Was it a center that was a religious center? Archaeologists can only speculate, and the theories really, when you get into them, are quite fascinating. This is inside one of the recreated buildings. What looks like windows are really entrances and exits. Like the present-day Pueblan people we saw earlier in this travelogue, these ancient people also used ladders to enter and exit buildings. Both groups inhabited the same area. So, does this mean the modern Pueblans are indeed descendants of the ancient people of Chaco? Archaeologists are hesitant to say because there is no actual proof. We can only speculate. Arizona, side of the border, land of the Navajo, largest Indian tribal group in the U.S. They're famous for their weaving of rugs and blankets. This woman is sitting in front of her loom. They are also famous for their secret language code during World War II. The German military was unable to decipher their sophisticated code. Anthropologists theorize that the Navajo are related to Aboriginal people in northern Canada. Both groups share a similar language family. They are what you would call linguistically related. The Navajo refer to themselves as Dine, D-I-N-E, we the people, which is written here in blue. The same meaning is expressed by the North northern Saskatchewan Chippewayan people and other groups across northern Canada who say they are Dene, D-E-N-E, we the people. Note the spelling of Dene in black. It is similar in expression, pronunciation, and spelling. Perhaps people migrated across the Bering Strait from Siberia, then southward, and at some point in time, for reasons unknown, the group may have split, with one group staying in the north and the other group, now called the Navajo today, possibly continued to migrate south and eventually ending up in the Arizona area. It's a small world. Hey, maybe we're looking at the very first snowbirds. The last stand of the Navajo occurred in Canyon de Chelly. The Navajo, like some other Indian groups, battled the intrusion of the white man.